Good morning, day 7 here of the Aer Lingus Kite Surf Pro Ireland 2012. As you can see, a very beautiful day here today. Crisp bluebird skies this morning, but also really chilly out this morning, Ben.
Yeah, temperature's dropping a little bit overnight, but as you said, just a beautiful sunshiny day. We got some sunglasses on. Yesterday it was kind of a gray, insulated, warmer day, but without that cloud cover. With these blue skies above us, man, it's a little bit chilly out here today, Sky.
Definitely, and we were looking at some of the forecasts this morning and talking to some of the locals. Sounds like we might even have frost on the ground over the next couple of days. It's supposed to be clear skies overnight for the next couple of nights, and without that insulation, as you said, going to be some really chilly mornings heading into the final weekend here of the Aer Lingus Kite Surf Pro.
Exactly, and just to give you a little bit of an update of kind of what goes on a morning and nightly basis here. Again, we always talk to everyone we possibly can within the striking distance area of our base camp here at Pure Magic Lodge, which you can see right behind us. We're live streaming to you this morning from trying to look at swell maps, trying to look at wind maps. Again, some of these places actually collect wind swell fairly well, so that's something that we've really been looking for in the last few days. And going into the next couple of days, you can probably tell it's pretty windy here this morning. It was windy as soon as we woke up. Right in front of where we are now, it's a bit of an offshore wind, so it won't really collect any swell other than ground swell with this wind direction. The ground swell looks like it's still going to maintain itself to be pretty flat for the next day or so, but since it's been so windy the last few days, there's a couple of scouts out wandering around today and yesterday trying to see if perhaps there were some places, some points that were picking up some wind-driven swell to try to get the contest going underway in some sort of onshore skate parky conditions.
Exactly, with this northeasterly wind direction that we're having today and for the next couple of days, we've got some scouts out looking at some of the north-facing coasts. There's some spots about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of here that could potentially pick up some of that wind swell. So today we got a call at about 6:30 from one of our locals that was on site up there. Not much wind swell on offer there today, pretty much flat conditions still, but with this wind increasing and continuing to build, hopefully tomorrow we'll have some wind swell and maybe be able to run some heats in some onshore conditions.
Yeah, and actually the period is increasing over the next few days. Today it looks like if there's going to be any waves, it'll probably be pretty choppy, pretty short period, pretty messy. But going into tomorrow and the next day, some pretty solid periods here, about 10-11 seconds, and tomorrow it looks like it's going to get up to about 7 or 8, so chances are we could actually be running this tomorrow. But the official call, as we just heard from our riders meeting today, is another lay day here for day 7. Contest called for the day with hopes of increasing in better conditions over the next few days.
Exactly, yeah, and once again, a beautiful day out today. I'm sure we're going to be getting out and doing some hiking around. A lot of the riders have been hiking up this mountain you see behind us, behind the Pure Magic Lodge, and just some beautiful scenery and beautiful places to visit around here on the west coast of Ireland. But it is an official lay day, as we just heard from our riders meeting, so day 7 has been called. Looking forward to improving conditions tomorrow to get those early rounds out of the way, and still looking at that swell coming in hopefully on Sunday, Ben. That is a much larger period, up in the 3 meter range, 15, I believe 12 second period or so.
Exactly.
Still have our eyes on that and hopefully be able to finish this thing up in classic Irish conditions.
Yeah, so again, coming down to sort of the end of the holding period, but it's looking promising for the remainder to, like you said, Sky, perhaps in the next few days, get through those early rounds to set ourselves up for a pretty fantastic final day of competition here in Ireland on Achill Island.
Absolutely.
And as we said as well, the temperature dropping a bit. We're in a bit thicker of layers of clothing today. The riders running around with again another layer of clothing on. But we just heard a couple of the riders going to head out and go kiting today to some of the alternate spots that we have. And try to get used to the water, especially if the temperature is down by another 4 or 5 degrees compared to what it was on that first weekend of competition that we had, where we had the same sunny conditions, wind though from a different direction, so it was a bit warmer. Those guys out there and in cold water, absolutely, but probably a little bit warmer than people would expect here in Ireland this time of year.
Yep, and we actually caught up with some of our local riders, our local Irish wildcards, to hear a little bit about what they have to say about the cold water conditions and how they prepare themselves for getting out there in those cold water conditions. So let's hear from those guys.
For me, it's down to the the preparation. Like again, you think about when you wake up in the morning, if you're going out for a big session, you want to be relaxed, you want to be mobile, you want to make sure that all your body is working properly. And if you get your core temperature up as well, then your body is going to be hotter and it's going to be working better for a longer period of time. So when you're out in the water, your core temperature is going to stay higher for longer. And like, I suppose when you start feeling your core temperature dropping, everything starts to tighten up. Your fingers, your hands, your neck starts to tighten up as well. And if you take an impact, or if you take a big wipeout when you're tight, then your body is going to struggle to survive it, you know.
What tends to happen is you're riding along and all of a sudden you struggle to keep your balance, you're falling off and maybe a little bit of side chop, and you're going, what's happening here? A few minutes I was okay, and all of a sudden I can hardly stay on the board, and you have to start thinking to yourself, oh, okay, right, maybe I'm starting to get cold here. So it's all about seeing the signs, understanding, right, the reason I'm falling in here is because my body's saying, you know, it's starting to slow down, the blood's running from your brain and it's trying to keep around the heart to keep your core body warm. So at that point it's safest to come back in.
So what we try and do is, or what I try and do is in the morning, or even twice a day, but in the morning I'll always try and do about 10 or 12 or 8 minutes, just really intensive body movement. So you're doing push-ups, you're doing mountain climbers, you're doing squats, you're doing squat jumps, you're just running as fast as you can on the spot, and that just brings your body temperature up to a point where you're getting a little sweat on, you know. So when you obviously you don't want to expose your body if you've been sweating, so you want to make sure you get changed somewhere out of the wind. But if you've got your core temperature up and then you go out into the water, then you're going to have a much better session.
The other thing is on bigger days, you know, when things go wrong, the consequences, you have to keep in the back of your mind, you know, there could be a big cold swim here ahead of you, whereas if it's warmer water, you know, you can sit it out and just, you know, swim back in at your own pace, you know, control your breathing and all the rest. But when it's cold, you're thinking, you know, how long am I going to be able to survive this in the cold before I make it back to the shoreline? So all these factors have to be taken into consideration before you go out riding in the colder weather.
Well, I suppose it's down to it's looking at your environment first, where you're going to be, looking at the temperatures, looking at the wind chill, seeing what you're going to be dealing with on that given day, and then trying to work out how long you're going to be out for. You know, if you think you're going to be out for a good long session, then you want to make sure you protect yourself and you make sure you're not going to get too cold. I think, you know, you really got to be careful when the temperature starts dropping down below the 7 degrees mark, because then you're talking about exposure, and exposure is what really kills you when you're out in the water. It's not necessarily the temperature of the water, it's the length of time that you're in the water that's going to actually do damage. So, you know, you could be happy out going back and forth mowing the lawn on the shore break or in the shore, but if you try and go out to an outside reef and something happens out there and you've got to try and swim back to shore, it's that time with the cold water lapping over the back of your neck or over your forehead that's actually going to kill you. It's going to slow all your motory movements down, and you're going to be able to swim slower and slower and slower, and then all of a sudden you just stop. So that's really the biggest thing you want to make sure is that you're prepared and you know where you're going to be, and you have like a hood, or you have like a flotation device or something that's going to keep you warm or insulate you from the cold.
And here I am in the cold Ireland with Abel Lago from Spain. Abel, you've competing for a long time. You started competing in 2001. You were the European champion, I remember, in 2002. Then you were the KPWT Wave World Champion in 2007, and now you're still competing. After so many years of competition, where do you still take the motivation from?
Yeah, this is actually, I ask myself every morning, like, why I'm doing this, but it's like it's the dream life. Why to stop? You know, if I can keep doing this, and it's my motivation to wake up every morning, to be better and better. And now the level is getting higher and higher. The KSP just bring all the best riders together, and now it's a mission for me. I did really bad in Mauritius, and I'm really more excited and motivated every morning to train hard and to do better results for the future, for sure.
That's great, taking your motivation from results that are maybe not so great. So hopefully for Ireland you are well prepared. I can imagine as a rider it's pretty difficult to prepare for this event. It's the first time we're actually having a mobile format, so different spots, different possible conditions every day. How have you prepared for this event?
Well, where I come in the north of Spain, Galicia, is quite similar to here. It's a coast, it's a really snaky coast, and you have different beaches with different conditions every day. And the best thing to be ready here is to bring a lot of boards and a lot of kites. you have all the sizes, you have all the boards for sideshore, for onshore, and just be ready for right, left, whatever, because will be the same conditions for everybody, a new spot for everybody. And it's actually a thing that I like, because I've been riding so long in so many places around the world that I really like new places, of course.
Yeah, that's actually a smart thing, bringing a lot of gear. And it kind of brings us to another topic as well. You come with a lot of kites, you come with a lot of boards. Not every rider might be in a lucky position to be able to do that. Tell us, what else do you do than just kiting and competing?
Yeah, and I'm one of these lucky guys in the world that we are paid to test kites and to test boards. I do all the development together with Roberto Ricci, and we have a designer, Berter. He makes all the designs, and he travels with me to warm places normally for do all the testing. And it's what was my real job. You know, I travel and I test all the gear for the next season. And in the end of the test, I just keep for myself the best prototypes, the best boards, and it's the good thing and lucky thing, you know, to be paid for test a lot of kites and boards all day long. It's very
that sounds like a really lucky position. Actually, I wish I could do that, but glad you can. Yeah. And I was asked to ask you one last question. Where did you get this Rob Machado hairdo, and how long did it take you to grow it?
This guy just copied my style. You know, I've been working in my afro for such a long time, and then this American that nobody knows just come with this afro. It took the afro name of Rob Machado. It's a Machado. It's actually a Spanish name. This guy just copied me for sure. No, it takes very long actually. The people think this is not. We work for a long time. You see, Mito is trying to grow his afro, but it takes so long. It's a mission. This.
Okay, so obviously not only copying a hairstyle, but also the Spanish last name.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Abel Lago from Spain, and good luck for this competition here. And great to hear that you have the motivation to go out and train harder and get better results in the future.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Back to the stream.
We just heard from Abel Lago, competitor here at the Ireland stop. Has been following the tour all year long. Kind of great to hear from all of our competitors sort of how they were mentally preparing, physically preparing for this event. And we talked a bit earlier in the week about the Brazilians and how the conditions where they train, though not weather and warmth, but the conditions sort of changing, help them prepare for this mobile contest. And we just heard from Abel Lago as well, telling us much the same, where the weather perhaps isn't exactly similar, but in his home spot in Galicia, you get a lot of the similar conditions, some changing conditions here, which helped him sort of mentally prepare for this event.
Yeah, and Abel, of course, a seasoned competitor. He's been kiteboarding since early, I think 2000, 2001, and he's been following various tours and events over the years, and had some incredible results. Was world champion in 2007, as we heard from him. And still on tour, still competing, and still going strong. We saw him come out in his heat the other day. He got second, nearly won his heat, and he'll be looking to make a comeback in the later rounds for sure.
Absolutely, and again, we heard from our local wildcards in our clip before that, where they were explaining a little bit of what to do and sort of how to prepare yourself and how they prepare themselves for staying warm here when it's particularly cold. And though we didn't experience those sorts of conditions this last weekend, it looks as if this weekend Sky may be a little bit more brisk out there on the water. So it's definitely good to hear from those guys, and I hope all of our competitors get a chance to stop and talk to those guys on how to really get their body temperature and their core temperature ready to get out there in the water, especially as we're looking forward to some pretty long days of competition here coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna have some long cold days standing on the beach in the wind and getting in and out of the water in wet wetsuits. And looking at that weather forecast this morning, it looked like the temperature is going to drop down to about 5 degrees Celsius, but I'm sure with the wind chill factor, it's going to be much colder than that standing on the beach, especially in a wet wetsuit. So that kind of stuff is really going to come into play this weekend, and it's going to definitely factor into how these guys are feeling in and out of the water.
Absolutely. So if you're just joining us again, this is day 7. Official lay day has been called for the day. The wind is here. It was howling when we woke up this morning. It's blue, sunny skies. Just waiting for that swell to show up, which looks like it might start to increase later this afternoon into tomorrow and continue to do so as the weekend goes on. So we're looking at a promising forecast for the next few days. However, it's now been a couple of consecutive lay days in a row, and as we've spoken about before at other events, 1 or 2 lay days after a day of competition is welcome to sort of regroup and sort of refocus on what you're going to do when the heats start up again. But after 1 or 2 days, you get a little bit antsy, and as Sky said a little bit earlier, the mountains that are in and around behind this Pure Magic Lodge, where we are staying and hosted by some fantastic curators of the place, if my vocabulary can increase a little bit.
That's a good one.
But have been trying to come up with some activities. They've been great about organizing events for the riders to do.
Yeah, it's been great. As I said earlier, we're probably going to go for a little hike around the place today and check out some of the scenery. But over the last couple of days, we've had some lay days, and they organized some golf for us. We went and had a little golf tournament with all the riders, which is super fun. Also went and visited some of the local school kids and answered some questions that they had about professional athletes. And they're so stoked to have us here in their town, and of course we're really stoked to be here, and it was great to go and share the stoke with some of those young kids. So let's take a look at what we got up to over the last couple days here on Achill Island in Ireland.
So the forecast today in Achill Island looks very, very light. So today we're bringing the pro riders to meet the local kids who are very, very excited. It's one of the many schools in Achill. This one where we start is Dua, and we've got like 40 kids waiting for us with lots of questions, and they're going to give us a little tin whistle session. So we're going to check it out inside.
It's just so amazing going and visiting the schools here in Achill, and I think it's blown us all away. Kids seem to be like really asking great questions to us, and we're just soaking up the cultural differences, and it's just amazing. For sure, I think it's a great way to give back like this and get them inspired by the sea and what they have here in Achill, and how they can use the sea for having fun and doing sport and things.
Lay day here, KSP Tour, down here at a local golf course, passing some time, having some fun. We got a scramble going, a bunch of teams. I think we have 8 or 9 teams all playing today.
The golf is fun. It's really fun. It's been a while since I played, but it's still not too bad, so.
Trying to do our best, but I never played golf in my life, so it's funny.
I like Milla's swing. It's nice, yeah, and she's a really good putter too. She's smooth on the greens.
Yeah, I had a birdie, so I'm very happy. It's the first time I play it.
think.
Thank you. Here I am with Lilian Malchert from the Netherlands. And Lilian, we just had Abel Lago here with us, and he's been competing forever. You are in a completely different situation. You've only started competing this year. And Mauritius was your first event. So you came on the tour, you didn't know anyone. How did that feel for us? How did it feel for you, obviously, not for us. We know how it felt for us. How did it feel for you to come on the tour and to be with all those pro riders and basically this family of KSP riders?
Yeah, pretty exciting. I was quite nervous, of course, for the first event. It was like, well, with all the pro riders, and they will be so good, and they will be maybe they have an attitude or whatever. And I arrived in Mauritius, and there's such an amazing atmosphere. I felt straight welcome, and it felt really cool to be here. And it's only cool to ride with guys like Erdon, to see how good they are in real life, and to have them riding around you while you're training for my first competition ever. So I had such a great time already that, and now to go to Ireland, it's a second chance, and I'm really stoked.
That sounds really good. So you basically got into that situation, you met all those riders, felt really welcome, and you also felt really motivated by them, seeing them riding.
Yeah.
And then it all happened, and Mauritius happened to be the biggest waves you've ever been riding in your life as well. How was that for you, being out there in those big waves and then still having that motivation to really push yourself? Was it a little dangerous maybe?
No, it was not dangerous, because I really tried the first day of the competition. We had the biggest swell I've ever ridden. I think it was also quite big. It was like 4.5 meters of swell, and it was pretty scary. So I just decided, okay, don't take any risk. It's my first competition. I don't have to win here, and I don't have to push myself. I just enjoyed, and it was such an amazing time, and I was so happy. I rode a few of those big ones, and for me that was already cool, and that was enough. So it was not dangerous. I was still knowing what you were doing. With your kite, you're always quite safe. You can always leave the spot if it starts to be too heavy.
and that's actually a good point. You told me that you've also been surfing for a long time. So even though you've only a year ago started kiting or surfing with a kite, so kiting on the waves, you already had that wave experience, and that obviously made you a much safer kiter in Mauritius as well. Bringing me to the next topic, you being a surfer, you're not just a surfer and a kite surfer, you are also a lawyer, but you're not working as such at the moment because you had this plan of going surfing and doing trips, whatever. How long was that break supposed to be, and what happened?
Yeah, that break's supposed to be like a couple of months. Like last year, I quitted my job and I went traveling in August for like 4 or 5 months. That was the plan. I should start working in January, but well, now I'm still here and I'm still not working as a lawyer. So.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
we like having you here. Yeah. But you, I mean, being in your break, and you have done that before, and you travel a lot. Have you actually been to Ireland before, and would you come back?
I've never been to Ireland, but this place is amazing. And also I think because the local organization offers us so many things, and we can see so much, and that we are really enjoying, even though there are not waves. At least I'm really enjoying. I was really hoping there would be big conditions, but unfortunately there are not. But we can see so much of the country, and the people here are really amazing. They're super friendly and very heartwarming, welcoming. So that's pretty cool.
I'm glad to hear that you are enjoying it as much as we do. But the contest is not over yet. The swell for Saturday, Sunday actually looks amazing. So hopefully we'll all get to ride some big waves. Thanks a lot for now, Lilian, and good luck for the contest.
Thank you.
And if you want to say a few words in Dutch, then you can do that right now.
Goedemorgen Nederland. Echt iedereen naar Ierland komen. Dit is echt een fantastische plek. Waanzinnig mooie golven moeten hier zijn, goede wind. Maar dat moeten we nog gaan zien. Oké, keep in touch.
Thanks a lot. And back to the guys in Denmark and all Netherlands and all around the world. Jesus.
We just heard from Lilian Malsgaard from the Netherlands, one of our female competitors coming up, hopefully underway tomorrow, getting women's round 1 underway and hopefully improving conditions.
Yeah, I know for the last few days we've had some pretty early morning phone calls, kind of as we've alluded to earlier in the show and throughout this last week. Kind of checking in as early as possible. There's always an evening riders meeting where everybody sort of gathers and talks about what it looks like for tomorrow. And then everybody is up pretty early in the morning double checking everything, and today was the same as calling around to all of our local contacts and trying to figure out if today was going to happen. Didn't look like it was good enough to be able to move our traveling circus show up there and start the event, but the next few days look promising, and again we'll be reconvening tonight to assess the conditions, talk to everybody, see what the swell and wind maps look like, and then again tomorrow morning to make the final call on what goes on. But it's looking as though it's pretty promising for the next few days to get those the first round of the women's underway, first round of the men's completed, and into that second and third round before we can set ourselves up for hopefully a pretty great final weekend here at Achill Island.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully getting this thing underway as soon as possible. But again, if you're just joining us, official lay day called here for day 7 of the Aer Lingus Kite Surf Pro. An absolutely gorgeous day today. This is the sunniest day we've seen so far. Also probably the chilliest morning that we've had just because of that lack of cloud cover overnight. But we're probably going to keep ourselves busy today, go do a little bit of hiking and check out some of the scenery. And we will be back with you here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Maybe not necessarily here. Hopefully we'll be at one of our venues up north and getting the contest underway. But in any case, we will be live tomorrow, 10 a.m. here on kspworldtour.com for day 8 of the Aer Lingus Kite Surf Pro. Until then, I'm Sky Solbach.
Ben Meyer, have a great morning.